my name is Ayça. I'm a creative technologist. Welcome to my digital corner. Today we will discuss what happened in 2025 in AI filmmaking. If you remember the video from 2023, it was the introduction to AI filmmaking. And in that video, I introduced an AI workflow for creating experimental films with AI. Later year, in 2024, it was something like the end of the year. So I thought, oh, I want to do this every year. And there was not a better time to do it. And there was fireworks in the video. It was fun. And this year, we will discuss another AI workflow called Memory AI Art. But before that, there are some things happened. Let's see. Let's say the earlier one in 2023, August, it was not possible to generate AI films like movies, moving images. Then we needed to be a little bit more creative to moving them with frame interpolation that look like animated. A lot has happened since then. Now, in March 2025, let's say spring 2025, we could generate with context. With a little prompt, we could generate so great compositions. What happened in autumn 2025 that we could generate things with sound now. It's super intuitive, like you generate a video, it has supposed to have film and it could be another AI workflow and they just need to be generated together. But we waited towards the end of 2025 to have that. Why am I creating a period on this? That if you are watching this from far, far from future, this is what happened. We had more capabilities, and I think now we are at a spot that we are responsible most of the art direction. What do you want to sell? What do you want to say? And then the storytelling aspect of the things. What I want to include in this video is 3 articles. Because maybe you didn't read throughout the year, so I will read it for you. The first article that I published on AI filmmaking was 1st of January. It was simulation production method, and then the simplification was about now creating AI filmmaking is creating simulated worlds, and then this creative process. For example, when you are watching Matrix, you don't create the entire universe of Matrix, hopefully, but you are creating scenes that convinces the viewer that it exists and it's my train. So the simulation production method treats like that it can be simulated. And then one of the examples was that I happened to meet an old lady in Paris, and she had a dog with her, that it was a really small dog, the kinds of aggressive ones. We've talked a little bit, and then she told me she used to live in the Netherlands and she moved to Paris when she was young, and then all her life was in Paris. She looked like an old Dutch lady, but she had the fashion choices of a French Parisian woman. That was super interesting to meet her, and we talked a little bit, and then she was an inspiration point. After that, I kept generating old ladies coming out of elevator with the small dog, and that made me happy. What I want to suggest when you are creating AI films, starting with something that interests you, something that makes you happy, that you see that it exists. Because if you try to think that, oh, what would people like, what would be go viral, you don't need to be doing that in the beginning of your journey. If you create for yourself, that means you exclude the external validation sort of stuff. I don't know psychology that much. And let's see what happens in the simulation production method. There are 6 steps. If you want to read it, it's on Substack, Medium, and LinkedIn. And this is an AI workflow that you can copy and use it with any LLM to assist you. And the 6 steps are shortly: define the creative vision. What do you want to tell? Build the visual framework. What do you want to use in the visual prompt? We will get into prompt types in a second. And then this is a phrase that you repeat towards the end because you want to see similar visuals coming out of the generator, any of them at this point. It can be text, image, video, whatever you need to be communicating for your vision document. Because now, since we can generate production high quality videos with small groups, it is really, really important how to communicate on what you are creating together. Because most of the time it's voluntarily, and people, some of them do the sound design, some of them do the art direction, and then if they don't have the same idea what to create, that might be a big problem. So the third step is sketch the narrative, and then that's important to have the vision document, and then you create scenes, blah, 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 blah. Then there is an example of Breadth of Interpolator Rituals version 2. And I was really happy with the results. In this video, I focused on costume designs, and I was really happy each time when I see the outcome. And I wanted to have the consistent background. I wanted to have these women feel like belong to the same world. They are in the same room, sort of the same studio, and then we have the costume designs happened. And what I like about this AI workflow, that it's an important step to have the film premiere with your loved ones. Like, this is something fun to share with your small circle. For example, I created some memory AI art about my grandma's village, and one of them was about hamur yoğurmak, and the other one was kına by the soba. When I was a child, almost every weekend we visited grandma, and I wanted to have henna on my fingers. I remember that I would sleep with them and wake up very early. We would wash them in the garden, even though it was really, really cold in the garden. It was fun. I still have the good memories with it, and I wanted to capture some part of it and test how does the small talk happening around the henna. But something that I should note down, that in generations, it was usually people saying grandma. Grandma. In Turkish, you explain that there's not only grandma, you have mother's mom, it's anneanne, father's mom, they're both grandma, babaanne. And in the video generation, most of the time the child said babaanne, the father's mom. And it says something about the data set. We don't have enough grandma, anneanne in the data set. Anyways, it was fun to have that scene. Other thing was about the hamur yoğurmak, and my grandma used to, and she still sometimes does, make her own bread. And I would wake up the sound of the hamur, yoğurmak, that is, she was knitting the dough, and I would wake up to sound to that and sit by the leğen, the thing that she does that, and eat some of the uncooked dough. That was fun. And she was saying, oh, you are going to get sick, don't do that. And then, like, it was enjoyable to see. Okay, I was getting a lot of therapy sessions at the moment now. Okay, it was enjoyable to see that she was warning the child not to eat the dough that much. And it's a good stop to talk about the prompt strategies for creative work. This article discusses how to use AI tools one step further from generating videos and images and getting closer to the end quality, production quality, with more creating with more intention. And I hope you hear me good, because sometimes there are cars passing by. We will see. When I was doing the microphone check, there was no cars, and then it's busy street now. I have a few examples. One of them is the magic mirror. There are two dogs, and they go to a temple with 10,000 mirrors. And one of them, the first dog, is a bit aggressive and barks in the temple and sees 10,000 angry dogs barking them back. And the second one is a playful dog, and that goes to the temple, plays in front of the mirror, and sees 10,000 dogs wants to play with him. And then that is a good metaphor to explain how does the collaborating with AI work. Your attitude sort of reflects you back, and you get extra elements, random elements, not exactly your reflection. Also, it seems like the magic mirrors in Harry Potter, that you see what you wish. It's sort of like that. And then the warning a little bit from, like, I need to talk about this in December 2025. When you are ideating with LLMs, they agrees with you a lot. And since I'm super conscious about this, I don't get affected. Maybe I am, I don't know. But I think it would lower the quality of the output if everyone agrees in the same way. Then there's no clash to things to emerge. So it should change a little bit. So AI does not know your why. It responds how you ask. That's why how do you prompt matters. And then we discuss a little bit about the prompt types. One of them is seed prompt. This is something that you introduce your aim before giving an AI workflow, your intention. For example, let's say you are giving the AI workflow for memory AI art, and you say that I have an AI workflow. I want to create memory AI art. Can you assist me to do that? Please read it carefully. Once you understand, I will ask your assistant to co-creating. Let's say you said something like this, not exactly like that, in your own sentences. And then give the AI workflow. So this is the seed prompt. This is important to note down, because in the future you might look back, oh, how did I build this visual prompt? And then that was the noted. Document everything. The second type is visual prompt. It is slightly different than talking with LLMs because in visual prompt you need to discuss the composition. What do you show in the picture? When you are discussing conversationally with LLM, it tries to sort of understand your intention, but otherwise, in the other visual prompt, you get what you say. This is about the detailed description of composition, scenes, and instructional prompt. There's a lot of sounds happening. I will wait a little bit, I don't need to shout. Instructional prompt, refining prompt, and framework prompts. This might be updated in the future. It might be interesting to take a look later. And then in spring 2025, I needed an infographic about how do I create AI art, or how do I approach creating AI art, what is anything generated with AI art? I don't think so. And how do we assess if something generated is art? So this infographic about that. So the starting point is start with pen and paper, and I will say something very speculative. And the economical value of the AI artwork should start with the first pen and paper note down thing. The paper should be sold if you are selling AI art. So if it is a video art, maybe it's complex to have the video MP4. I don't know how the video artists sell their art. I don't know. It's not something like sculpture. I should look into that. So you start with pen and paper, and then after you have that, you experiment. And in that part, you don't think too much that, oh, I wanted this man to be walking on the street and not the, not the middle of the road, blah, blah. You don't think about that. You think, oh, these visual prompts gives me this. What do I like? What do I don't like? And then you iterate in the middle part. Let's say in the beginning you started with 200. With the iterated one, you work on 20 of them, and then you create 5 of them. Then it becomes AI art. And then we can say that, oh, this was created with intention, I believe. And yeah, what else do we discuss? There's a few warnings. Being aware of decision fatigue, that is really important, because you are taking a lot of micro decisions when you are reading a script. Sometimes generating more is just making you more tired to select things. So not everything has to be generated. You need to be intentionally creating, and then it would be easier not to keep generating. Just take a walk outside, come back, and then it will get better, usually. Conscious co-creation, that is in the article as well. I didn't read it that well in this one. Yeah, this is how it's a warning about how can we be more conscious on the creation. And the earlier videos, I always emphasized a few things. I will discuss these and then say goodbye. Yeah, a few suggestions. Be aware of the decision fatigue. You should be careful, because when you can generate almost anything, it's really easy to not to generate anything at all. Be aware that having limitations might, even if it's imaginary, let's say it's your passion project, no one is checking you did it or not, but you set an imaginary deadline that, oh, it should be ready by this, and then it gets easier. It was a fly. And what else? limitations, help. Yeah, that was one of the most important things that I can warn you about today is half of the experience, half of the film is sound design. It's very important. And then since now we have the capability to generate with sound, it mixes things a little bit because generated video might have the music as well, and then it breaks the consistency. We will see. There must be some solutions to this. We discussed so many things. Did you created any films this year? Let me know. And let me check one last time to see if there is more articles on this. Yes, I did an AI film about a poem. That is poem called Bedava for Free by Orhan Veli. And then it felt like something like, oh, there was this poet years and years ago lived and gave us some art pieces, and then I was collaborating with him. Maybe he wouldn't be friends with me when if we met, we don't know. Probably not, but in general, it's something that's very close to time travel and creating. Co-creating with a poet who left a message across time. It's super cool. And the limitations we discussed, I found that to start something and end, it's probably 42 seconds to 62 seconds works best when you are starting to experiment, because it is long enough to say something and short enough to finalize the project. And it is always good to know that done is better than perfect. You don't have to be a perfectionist at this point. There are more articles, like the latest one, I don't remember the title of. That is really important also. Check this out and let me know how that goes. It was about creating memory. It was about constructing visual prompts. But I don't have internet to download the article. I will add that in the description. Have a nice day and see you next year about this AI filmmaking thing.